This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're fortunate tonight to have one of my best friends in Alabama politics. I've known this gentleman for a long time, Mr. Corky Hawthorne from here in Montgomery, Alabama. All you folks in Montgomery probably know old Corky. He's been around about as long as I have, and he's a practicing lawyer here, been here all of his life. He's a native Montgomeryan. Old Corky may be going to run for the state senate seat 25 that old Dick Brewecker's in. Y'all know we have Brubaker on all the time, and we'll have Corky on if he goes in that senate seat. We have Clyde Chambliss from Prattville comes in here, and we have a viewing audience throughout South Alabama, but our biggest audience is in the River region. Corky, it's good to have you on the show.
Well, it's my pleasure, Steve. It's truly an honor. Steve and I go way back. I worked down in the legislature back in the day for Jimmy Clark when he ran the Senate.
He ran the House, too.
He ran the House. He was the Rules Committee chairman in the Senate.
That's right.
Back then, they shared the clerk, and Pierre Pelham from Mobile was president pro tem. He introduced me to all the Kennedys, but I was Pierre and Jimmy's clerk for 4 years in the Senate.
How old were you then, Cork?
I was 16, 17, 18, and 19.
And your daddy was a lobbyist for the power company or railroad?
He was Alabama Power. The law firm Lake Martin is named after Judge Tom Martin. And Tom founded the law firm Martin, Balch, Bingham, Hawthorne, Williams, and Ward. And now it's just Balch and Bingham. It's one of the a prominent firm here in Alabama.
Right.
They do first-rate work.
Do all the power companies work?
That's right. And then Jimmy left the Senate to go to the House to become Speaker.
Well, he was out a while.
Right.
He was mayor of Eufaula for a long time. Or he went home. He was a power during the Wallace time.
That's right.
Because he was from Barber County.
Became Speaker of the House.
Call him the Bear from Barber.
That's the Bear from Barber. He put me with Hugh Merrill from Anniston.
Oh, man, you had some legends.
Hugh was an attorney in the Merrill families, old Alabama families.
That's John Merrill's kinfolk.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And Hugh was chairman of Ways and Means. Mm-hmm. So I was his clerk for 8 years, and our vice chairman was Jabbo Wagner from Birmingham.
Was Jabbo vice chairman of Ways and Means? Right. And Hugh Merrill was chairman.
Jabbo's now the Rules Committee chairman in our Senate, and so Jabbo's helping run the Senate.
Corky, Hugh Merrill was a lawyer in Anniston, wasn't he?
That's correct. That's correct.
But all those Merrills came from Cleburne County. Do you know John Merrill remember Pelham Merrill?
Pelham Merrill.
Who was on the Supreme Court.
That's right.
That was John's uncle. John's daddy was probate judge up there in Cleburne County. And do you know the box that Merrill family came from? There's like 95 or 100 votes in that box. And John Merrill ran for Secretary of State. He got every one of them. Didn't lose one vote in that box. 96 to nothing or something like that.
Wow.
Because those Merrills. But tell me who all, you were Pierre Pelham.
That's right. And he introduced me to all the Kennedy family back in those
those white suits from Mobile.
That's right. That's right.
Remember old Pelham Wood?
Pierre was a magna cum laude graduate of Harvard. And when he took the stand, back then they never did vote cloture on anybody. If you wanted to filibuster, we would get cots. Back then we met in the actual Capitol in the old Senate chambers, and we would bring cots up to the State House. We won the State House. It was the actual Capitol was where we met. We'd spend the night, and people would talk as long as they could physically talk.
I remember that. No, Shelby was in the state senate.
That's right.
That's how you got
for Senator Shelby. We're on a first-name basis. I helped him with the Tea Party. I'm a member of the Wetumpka Tea Party.
Well, you're real active. You're of the. I mean, I don't want to use the word real religious, but you're a very conservative person. You're very
Christian conservative.
Christian conservative, and you've been a leader in that group for years. Like y'all get together and support people and everything.
That's right. Montgomery Tea Party, Wetumpka Tea Party. I'm also on the executive committee of the Montgomery Republican Party, and the idea would be if we do this Senate thing, I'm praying about it. I mean, I want it to be the good Lord's will, but we'll hit the ground running. I won't need any on the job.
No, you will not.
I won't need any training. Steve Flowers helped train me, by the way. I worked down there when he was a member of the back in '82, maybe.
And old Jimmy Clark was speaker.
That's right. That's right.
Jimmy Clark ran that house. Well, now he wasn't speaker the first time. Tom Drake was speaker the first time, and then Jimmy Clark came in '86 with old Guy Hunt. And but you've been around. We've not known. I've never hardly not known you, Corky.
Well, we've been friends a long time. Well, I grew up here in Montgomery. I went to Floyd School.
And to Lanier.
Then I went to Lanier.
So they had private schools up there.
That's right. That's right. Then I went to Auburn, War Eagle. I got a degree in economics, and that's one of the things we want to do. We talk about jobs. Well, we've got I do pardons and paroles. I get people out of prison, and it's the hardest thing in the world to get somebody out of prison to find them a job. Well, we've started a company called The Right Way, and we're working with Texas right now, and we're negotiating with ServPro on bringing 100 people to Florida as we speak. So we're not talking about doing jobs, we're actually doing it. We're making it happen, you know. People who really need the work, and these are really gifted people if we can get them focused on what they can do well.
Corky, everybody in your family's a lawyer, aren't they?
Well,
your brother's a lawyer?
My brother Frank's a lawyer, his son Frank Howard.
I mean, let's talk about that now. Let's say you and your brother, there's two of y'all.
That's right.
Your real name is Raymond.
That's correct.
You know, I didn't know that not long ago.
Nobody knows Raymond. Corky's my alias.
You know, Matt MacArthur, who is head of the State Employees Association, he likes you, by the way.
He's a good friend.
He's my lifetime friend. Matter of fact, he grew up in Ashford, and my uncle, Maurice Miller, and his granddaddy were best friends. And I've never not known Mac. And Mac was sitting here on my show one day. He says, Tree, I was 30 years old before your name. I didn't know your name wasn't Tree. You know, he said, I just knew Tree Flowers.
Well, he was real close with my daddy. Yeah. Daddy wrote the ethics commission, the first ethics bill, and he was the first ethics commission chairman. And Daddy was real close with Mac. He's a good man. Does a good job for the state employees.
Can I tell you a funny story about name ID? About Mac. Have you ever heard this one? Mac was ahead of the ethics commission, and he was going to run for attorney general.
Right.
Remember that?
I do.
And he got somebody, we know who it was, best post in the state, to do a benchmark poll. That's the first thing you do. Find out where your name ID is.
Right.
As you know, people who serve in the legislature, they ain't got no name ID.
Right.
I mean, Seth Hammett was Speaker of the House, and was going to run for governor, and had a benchmark poll. He had 3% name identification. He decided he wouldn't run against Lucy Bax that year. Well, old Mac, John Teague was the same thing. He was President Pro Tem of the Senate, did a statewide poll, had 3% name identification. Well, old Mac had gotten some good publicity as chairman of the Ethics Commission, put people in jail and gotten some good publicity in the Birmingham News and everything. So he figured he was getting real well known, so he was going to run for attorney general. And so he got the benchmark poll. And
what did that show?
Pollster called him up, said, Mac, come on over here. I got some good news for you. Mac sat down, anxious, still waiting. He says, Mac, you got 6% identification. That's good. And Mac just sat there with his mouth open. He said, well, the only thing good I know about is I can run through Winn-Dixie butt naked. Nobody know who I am.
Well, I'll be curious of how Corky polls.
You poll good in your county. I mean, you born and raised here.
Absolutely.
Hell, you know everybody. You know, you'll know everybody here.
Well, it's like you were talking about. My brother's an attorney. Daddy was an attorney.
You're both your sons.
Both my son. Ray is head of the school board at Pike Road.
That's all Pike Road's in that district.
That's right. And his wife Allie, she's a partner with Beasley Allen, Jerry Beasley's firm.
That's your sister of your daughter.
Daughter-in-law, and she just gave us our second grandson. Barnes Hawthorne, he's 20 days old today. And then they have another one who's 19 months old, Jack Hawthorne.
What are they going to call you?
Huh?
What you going to get them to call you?
Pawpaw.
You've already picked it out?
Absolutely.
Well, let me tell you something. You'll think you picked a name out, and they'll give you what name they want to give you.
That's right.
You know what my granddaughter calls me? Geese.
Not Tree?
No, I think they were going to call me Grand Tree or something. And I said, Jenny, what is she calling me? She said, Dad, she calls you Geese. Have you ever heard a grandfather call Geese before?
Never heard that one.
Well, I'm Geese.
Okay, Geese.
All right.
My other son, Charlie, works for Darrell Bailey. Daryl's our district attorney, and Daryl does a great job, and Charlie's an assistant prosecutor. He locks them up, and I get them out.
Corky, now tell me this. Tell me where that district is.
All right, it starts in Hopewell, Pensacola, and Snowden, and that's where our family farm is, out in Snowden. And I grew up, for all my alpha friends, milking cows out in Snowden. I bush hogged, baled hay, grew up on a farm out in Snowden.
Well, now, Corky, let's don't overdo it. You grew up here in Montgomery.
I grew up here in Montgomery, went to Floyd School, but we'd spend the summer.
But you're not a silk stock in Montgomery Country Club.
No, I'm not a member.
Even though you named Corky.
That's right.
That sounds like some kind of preppy name, you know it.
Charlie's wife is an attorney with the Pardons and Parole Board, and I do a lot of pardons and parole cases, getting people out of prison.
Corky, you're honest as days long.
Well, I appreciate that. That's what's important.
That's something about people running for office. Now, we need people that ain't going to break the law, you know? We got to put people in jail.
Our founding fathers envisioned it that you become successful in life, and your kids are all out of school, and you're out of debt. And I live out at Wind Lakes, and it's time for me to give something back. We've helped numerous people over the years, and it's time for me to step up and give something back. I want to put God back in government.
Good.
God back in our failing schools. You know, we've replaced prayer in the Bible with metal detectors. How's that working for us?
Yeah.
You know, put prayer back in our National Guard, and you know, put God back in government. That's what we need, and that's what I want to do.
Where do you go to church, Robert?
I'm a member of First Methodist Church, but lately I've also been going to this new church, Church of the Highlands.
Everybody goes out there.
That's just phenomenal. I mean, it's kind of like a revival going on.
I've never seen anything like that church growing all over the state.
16 campuses, and the important thing is they're in all the prisons. I'm real involved, like I said, getting people out of prison.
I ain't never seen a church grow like that.
I mean, how many churches you know in the prisons like that? And then I was talking to Commissioner Dunn and Deputy Commissioner Jeff Williams, and I was telling them about Highlands, and they said, "Well, they're in the prisons, Corky, but the difference is most churches that come in the prisons don't want people when they get out of prison to come to their church, whereas Highlands invites them. Wants them to come to the church." And so
they you got Highlands you go to out on Taylor Road.
Taylor Road, they paid cash for it.
Paid cash for the building.
Cash for they have zero debt.
Building's worth about $10 million.
At least. And
that property out there.
They do. It's all paid for.
Well, that started with that Church of the Highlands in Birmingham.
It did. I think they have 16 campuses. They're in Tuscaloosa. They're in Auburn. They're in Gadsden. 5 or 6 up in Birmingham area. They're in Montgomery now. They're fixing to expand down to Troy, I think.
Come to Troy.
So they're Gadsden. So it's amazing, and it's all closed circuit TV. It's a different kind of worship service that we're used to growing up in the conservative.
I like those old songs. Y'all ever sing those old songs?
No, this is for the young people, and you don't dress up in coat and tie to go to church.
I go to old man Sunday school class in Troy. We sing old songs.
Right.
Old Rugged Cross.
I hear you.
You know that sort of thing.
Amazing Grace.
We sing them every Sunday.
How great thou art.
I guess y'all don't sing that at the Highlands, do you?
Well, again, we sing it at First Methodist, so I get a little bit of both.
Well, y'all kind of highfalutin over there. They don't sing those songs all the time at the First Methodist.
Well, they're a pretty conservative church, pretty good conservative worship.
I love Carl Stegall.
I do. He's retired now.
I know it.
We got Jeremy Pridgeon now. Jeremy and Jillian and Jack and John. I mean, we got a bunch of young folks, and they're just doing a really good job. That's a growing church, and that's what it's all about.
Corky, I interrupted you about that district. What part of Montgomery's in that district?
All right, Snowden, Hopewell.
In the town, though.
That's right. It comes around. I used to live in McGee Estates, and they cut that out of the district. But so Zelda on east of Zelda. Hillwood's in the district.
I had Stephanie Bell here yesterday. She's in Hillwood.
McGee, Hillwood. Let's see.
But Pike Road's a big part of it.
Pike Road, all the way around to Tallahassee, all the way around to Elmore County.
You got all Elmore?
Yeah.
No, you ain't got all.
No, not all Elmore, but Wetumpka part.
You go down to Crenshaw County.
Absolutely, all of Crenshaw County. Yeah. Absolutely. But Deer Creek, Wind Lakes, all that.
Wind Lakes is
all that.
That's a lot of people there.
That's right. It's East Montgomery. That's right.
That's the heart of the district.
That's right. Capitol Heights is in there. Okay.
Why do you think old Brubaker just got tired of it?
Well, we had talked about it 7 years ago when Larry Dixon decided he wasn't going to run again, and Dick agreed to term limits. And I mean, he and I are philosophically on the same page, Christian conservatives.
He
and
went to Vanderbilt,
it'd take $500,000 to compete with the Brubaker name, and Dick's just doing such a great job.
People like him.
But he committed to term limits, of which I would commit to term limits. I mean, but
Well,
again, that's how our founding fathers
Why
envisioned
you
it
want
to
to do
work.
that? Why don't you just stay a long time?
No, just give something back to God's really blessed me and my family and my grandchildren and so forth. And
Well, if I got elected, I'd serve more than 2 terms.
no, I'm sticking to 2 terms.
If I ran, I'd say I'm gonna serve as long as y'all elect me. I'd be like Shelby.
I'm gonna commit.
You got to take me out
term
by the
limit.
ballot box or by a pine box, one or the other.
And Senator Shelby, he and I worked with him with the Tea Party people.
Yeah.
We are, and got the Tea Party people to help. He supported. He wrote a letter supporting Dick Brubaker's to do away with Common Core. We came up with the idea we don't want common anything in Alabama. We want exceptional core.
Why does Shelby care about that?
Well, because he's our U.S. Senator. I mean, we
got
got exceptional football. We got exceptional colleges: Auburn, Alabama, UAB. Troy, I mean, we've got great universities. Why can't we have great K through 12? You know, I don't want common anything in Alabama. We want exceptional core.
What committee do you think you ought to be on in the Senate?
Well, I hope for sure I'd be on rules since Senator Wagner's chairman. I'd like to do that.
Corky, you'd be a great senator.
I appreciate
You know, Montgomery
that,
have a
Steve.
good senator because you grew up knowing this stuff.
But Steve, you are one of the ones who taught me, and you got this great TV show.
You know people, and people would like you in there. You'd make friends automatically. You know half of them anyway.
Well, hopefully
you'd be a good senator
we'd
from
get some
Montgomery.
things done.
You'd be a good senator from Montgomery.
I'll hit the ground running, Steve.
I'm going to tell a story on what the last great senator Montgomery had. Brubaker was good, but he didn't stay a long time. You remember old Joe Goodman?
I'm going to tell a story about that after you
Well,
finish.
it may be the same one.
Okay.
You know, Joe had a penchant for alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, and your buddy Pierre Pelham, you know, they would disappear at 5 o'clock.
I know.
You know. And so, we were pages. You remember? Remember Miss Mitty who used to sit out there in the hall? Miss Mitty who sat there in the corner.
And Joe drove up on the Capitol steps.
Yeah, that's it. But let me tell you what.
I was his page.
I thought
my
maybe
first
you were.
job.
I thought maybe you were. Oh, Wallace was governor, and you were maybe paging down there. Joe Goodman was a brilliant senator.
Oh, absolutely.
He was very effective. He was chairman of the Rules Committee, but he went to Sahara, you know, every afternoon about 5 and took libations out there and.
Probably met Daddy for a cocktail.
Probably, I think so. And so one day, Miss Mitty, you know, she knew where everybody was.
Yeah.
Remember Miss Mitty? Who was
everybody
about like
knows Miss Mitty.
She sat there, and I'd got to know Miss Mitty from being a page in the House. And Governor Brewer brought me over to the Senate to be head of the pages in the Senate when he became lieutenant governor. And a bill came down that Wallace was interested in, and Brewer, of course, was a Wallace man. They were going to try to pass it. This is how this stage set. You remember the scene. Well, Governor Brewer and them were trying to debate whether to break for 5 o'clock because some of them ain't coming back. Pierre wasn't coming back. And we knew Joe went out to Sahara. And there was this old undertaker from up at Sand Mountain who drank moonshine whiskey out of his desk all afternoon. And by 4 o'clock, he was gone. He didn't hurt anybody, but he went back to his hotel room at the Exchange and went to bed. We couldn't get him out of his room. So we knew 3 were going to be missing, you know, and they ain't about 20 votes. So finally, I knew we'd lost Pierre, and then they broke, and I says, Governor Brewer, we need to get Senator Goodwin back. I think we need to, but we can get him back, but you may want to send the Capitol Police to go get him. Well, somehow Governor Brewer called out the Sahara and told Joe, the guy who ran the Sahara, says, send Senator Goodwin back down here. We need him real bad for a vote. And he got in his old Buick, and he hit 3 cars between the Sahara and the Capitol. And then he drove that car up the Capitol steps. And I had seen Miss Mitty earlier in the day, and I told her something about Wallace, and I thought she worked for Wallace. And she says, she called him a little sawed-off SOB. And that told me she didn't like Wallace. And then I went out there. I was looking for Senator Goodwin after he had driven his car up the Capitol steps. The transmission was on the first step. He almost made it to Jefferson Davis' Star.
He made the front page on that
every
one.
paper in the state had Joe in his car on the Capitol steps.
He had a Mark III Lincoln. Lincoln Continental. Remember that?
He almost made it to Jefferson Davis' Star. Because in his mind, he thought it was important. He was going to vote. And I went out to see Miss Mitty. I said, Miss Mitty, where is Senator Goodwin? And Miss Mitty, she liked him. You know what she said? She said, somebody parked in his parking place. He had to park on the Capitol steps. Took up for him.
Well, let me share with you. Back when Lurleen was governor, she wanted to expand Auburn and Alabama.
Yeah.
And the Alabama people wanted Huntsville. And the Auburn people decided they wanted AUM, hit Goodwin Hall. But listen to the story. They went to Joe, Dr. Philpott, who was good friends with Daddy, and Daddy was a big Daddy lobbied for Auburn for free because he loved Auburn. They went to Joe, and Joe said, well, Frank handles all the Auburn stuff, meaning my daddy. And so Daddy wrote the legislation, negotiated the deal with the McLemore family for the property, and then got it passed. Joe passed it. Joe got Goodwin Hall named after him. And the senators. See, that's where that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
AUM senators, that's where that came from. And Lurleen gave Daddy a pen, and it's on my brother Frank's desk, that she signed the legislation creating AUM.
And your daddy helped start it.
He did.
But now Joe Goodwin got credit for starting
Well, he did. Well, he was the senator and did a great job. And look how great AUM is today.
I know, but I mean, he left a legacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your daddy did too.
Absolutely.
You ought to tell people that when you run. Say, my family helped start AUM.
Daddy's got the pen. It's on my brother's desk.
I mean, your family has been, we were sitting there with Stephanie Bell. Her husband, John Bell.
Former U.S. attorney.
Their family owned the old the theater that was here, the Empire Theater.
Oh, wow.
And the Whitley Hotel that was right here where this building is.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know either. She said they have all kind of artifacts. The Empire Theater was the nicest theater in Montgomery. It had air conditioning, and Clark Gable came there.
Right.
Katharine Hepburn, and her family, his family, owned all this land right here where we're sitting.
Right.
Where the Empire Theater and all that was. And John, remember them telling her that yesterday about that? Yeah, about that. Her doing that. Corky, let's get back to your Senate race though. You got much farm?
Well, again, I got a degree in economics from Auburn, and the first thing we want to do, like I said, we're doing some jobs now as we speak through the Right Way, a company that we're working on. But what I'd like to do is get the small business. That's where jobs are created, with the small business people. Give them a tax credit, which isn't going to go into effect until the following year, to go ahead and hire somebody now, and that gets them off of welfare and food stamps, and then they're getting a salary, they're getting a check, then they're buying stuff, and they're getting sales tax, so they will have paid for their tax credit by the end of the year when the company gets it. So what companies, that are right on the verge, that want to, a painting company, a construction company. I mean, there's a tremendous demand for construction jobs right now, welders, plumbers, carpenters, and let's give some incentives. Randy George does a good job here. Matter of fact, Daddy was head of the Chamber of Commerce when they hired Randy George.
He's been here a long time.
Yeah, and then Ellen McNair. Ellen was real involved with the GE plastic plant with Marlowe Reese and my father. Marlowe and Daddy were best friends.
Yeah.
Daddy was Marlowe's lawyer. And then, of course, Ellen and...
That's not Gene's daddy, is it?
No, no relation.
Oh, they call him the White Rat.
And then they did the Hyundai plant. And we can't say enough about how great that was and the jobs that's provided. So I work real close with the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. Corky, you been out to see Alpha Jim Parnell and them?
I went to one meeting out there that they've already had. And
he's a good man.
I'm going to go to the state employees thing tomorrow.
Mac will
That's
be with
tomorrow. Mac's going to introduce me to some
Mac's
folks.
a good man.
He is, first class.
I had a 100% voting record with state employees.
Oh, wow. Well, I
and
intend on having that. I'm going to follow in your footsteps,
what Mac told me? He says, Flowers, we ain't never had anybody had 100% state. You know why I did? You know, my county, Pike County, it was 6th in the state for number of state employees based on our population.
Wow.
You know, you think about it.
That's a record to be really proud of.
Well, he told me, he said, we kept a record. I said, Flowers, you're the only person that have 100% employees. Yeah, I said, well, you know why I did? Because I grew up in Troy, and I knew how important state government was.
Absolutely.
To it. Well, see, Troy's close enough to Montgomery. A lot of folks commute here. And we're big enough that every state agency's got an office there. But you put the fact that we had that 7th Division Highway office there.
Right.
And the Big Jim put there. And for our population, if you gave state employees a pay raise in my county and with Troy University there, that's like putting new industry in my county.
Well, I mean, I would be honored to represent the state employees.
Well, you got a lot of them in your district.
Absolutely.
And sometimes in the past, Corky, a state representative, a senator from up here, and I would resent it almost, wouldn't vote with state employees all the time.
Well,
you know, some of them I'm not thinking about.
I plan on being 100% for the state employees.
Because you got a lot of them in your district.
And that's who I want to represent. And being a former state employee, 13 years working in the legislature, I mean, I understand that program.
Yeah. Corky, you'd be a good state senator.
I grew up with the YMCA, you know, and we want to put God back. YMCA, Young Men's Christian, let's focus on the Christian part. I'm a member of the Camp Chandler board of directors. I'm on the Save a Life board. You know, I do that. The STEP board with our school system strategies to elevate people, and that's been real effective. Where churches adopt schools, but my favorite is the Salvation Army. Yeah. Nobody ever says anything bad about the Salvation Army.
They're not for profit either.
Absolutely.
They're really, if you bring your stuff to the Salvation Army.
And it's salvation through Jesus Christ. I mean, they're not ashamed of mentioning Jesus Christ, the J word, which everybody's all said. I'm not ashamed of the gospel.
No, you're not. You know. And Corky, you look good too. You trim and everything. You got no gray hair.
I'm healthy by the grace of God.
60 years old, good looking boy.
61.
60, handsome young man.
Get it on the record, right?
Corky's a handsome young man. Y'all vote for Corky for the state senate. Y'all, you people, especially you state employees and alpha people. Corky will be a good state senator for this area. Our time's up, but our guest tonight's been the Honorable Corky Hawthorne, top lawyer here, good friend of mine, running for the state senate. And we thank you viewers for watching. Hope you'll tune again next week for Alabama Politics. Thank you, Corky.
Awesome.